Let's get into schools, education and the well-being of our children in this country. First up, I want to catch up with Angelo Gavrielatos, who's president of the New South Wales Teachers Federation. Thanks for joining us again, Angelo. I want to get to the plan for New South Wales schools in Term 4 in a moment, but first up, there's been a big focus on the Year 12 exams, understandably, getting the Year 12 students in those hotspots vaccinated so they can sit them. But what do you think of an idea being floated to have some of those exams actually conducted outdoors?
Good evening, Chris, and it's good to be with you again this afternoon. We certainly appreciate your interest in these matters. We woke up yesterday to something that, quite frankly, is nothing more than a harebrained idea, a silly idea, and it strikes me that people get paid to come up with these silly ideas to conduct HSC exams outdoors. That's a nonsense idea. Our focus does remain on the HSC. Our focus remains on the well-being of our kids, our Year 12s. We're very concerned about them having been impacted last year and again this year. As you know, there's already been decisions made to change the assessment regime for HSC subjects this year as far as the practical component of subjects is concerned. There's already been an announcement to delay the HSC by a week. And clearly, given where numbers are going in New South Wales, that decision may need to be revisited. I'm a great supporter of the HSC, Chris. I think it's an important credential, and it's also a rites of passage for many kids, having worked for 13 years to get to it. So clearly, we want to do the right thing by kids, but we also must be sure that their safety comes first in what is continuing to be a very, very difficult set of circumstances.
Well, I would have thought, I'm going back, it's a long while since my Year 12 examinations. But I mean, generally you have the exams in a big hall, everyone's spaced apart so you can't cheat, let alone the coronavirus. So I would have thought, you know, physical distancing and mask and whatever would pretty much cover it, given we're talking about young adults here.
But that's where the problem, that's only part of the school examination process. Of course, there is a lot of movement of adults in terms of supervisors, invigilators, and the whole operation, which increases mobility dramatically across Sydney and the Greater Sydney area as a result of such. And that's where you start getting unstuck when you consider the advice from health experts that want to drive mobility down to stop transmission rates as much as possible. I don't believe a decision needs to be made just yet. I think there's still time to see how this pans out over the next few weeks. I know everyone wants a decision yesterday, but I don't think we're serving anyone's interests in doing that. There's a lot at stake here. The HSC is important, and let's just give it a bit more time to see what comes of it. I know there's a lot of pressure on kids. Let's just keep them focused on studying to try and do their very best.
All right, you say wait for more information. Gladys Berejiklian later this week says she'll give the state some advice on what's happening with Term 4. Of course, Term 3, there's no face-to-face learning in New South Wales schools. Here's what Gladys Berejiklian said at a media conference today.
It's really important for us to make sure we are able to communicate as soon as we can to the public about what school looks like for the rest of the year, and we intend to do that hopefully by the end of this week. But there's no doubt that obviously vaccinating the senior adolescents is key to this, and that's why some weeks ago we started the process of vaccinating high school students in those local government areas of concern. We want to make sure when schools go back it is a safe environment.
All right, Angelo, let's leave the teenagers, the Year 12s, the high school students to one side then. Given everything we know medically and about the need for kids, shouldn't the Teachers Federation be pushing to at least get primary school and under back face-to-face in Term 4, with the one proviso that any teacher who doesn't want to front up into a class until they're vaccinated, of course, doesn't do that until they're vaccinated?
Well, thank you, Chris. Thanks for saying that, because I listened very carefully to your expert earlier as well, who talked about the risks for adults, the risks for teachers. And I'm getting to the point that I'm almost a broken record here. Where is the prioritisation for all teachers? Where was it months ago? Where was it months ago such that every teacher would have been prioritised to get access to the vaccination rollout? If we still have, even now, Chris, we still have issues with access and supply in many parts of the state. We are quickly approaching the end of this term, and there are still teachers who haven't been vaccinated because of access and supply issues.
I agree with you. That's been slack, and it's got to be a priority. But with that proviso, will you push to get face-to-face learning, at least for primary school, in the final term?
One thing that's for sure, our kids are hurting. Our kids are hurting, and clearly we want them back as soon as possible. How soon that is will depend on the health advice. And you know, I've said to you repeatedly, we will act on the health advice that's put before us. And the moment the health advice says that it's safe to do so, we will welcome our students. We'll welcome our students. I just hope that they act on what we've been calling for so many months. I don't know how many times you and I have discussed it, Chris. I'm sorry I'm getting a bit exasperated now. Where is the vaccination rollout program? Where is that program in order to ensure safety for all adults in this equation, and then the additional measures that will be required for our kids as well? What's not known in the general public is that since the middle of June, there have been about 80 cases where there have been positive COVID cases on school sites. What's not known also is how many people are thereafter impacted, designated as close contacts, both students and teachers. Close contacts who for a fortnight have to shut down and self-isolate to see what the outcome will be of their exposure. And what we've seen is that there are subsequent infections as a result of that. Where is the vaccination rollout program?
We've got to get that happening.
Education staff?
Couldn't agree. Thanks very much, Angelo. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Chris.
Sorry, I do just need to move on and stay on issues related to that. But yeah, I'll tell you what, we want schools back. We want our kids back at school right across the country. And of course, teachers in the room with them, they're a high priority to get them vaccinated. I know plenty of parents would easily, gratefully give up their own vaccination appointments to give it to their teachers to help things get moving again. So it's a high priority to get teachers vaccinated. I couldn't agree more.